Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's another MLS Monday by Scarves and Spikes. It is Tyler Pilgrim here alongside a anonymous Tommy Moose. Oh, there he is. What's up,
MLS
Tommy?
Monday.
MLS Monday. So, what are you currently doing?
Getting my steps in.
And
I am currently down 10 pounds
nice,
since April 1st.
nice.
So I'm working on that. But as I got on camera testing this, I've owned this hoodie now since my birthday. So October last year. I
Yeah.
didn't notice it has a horn. I guess you just hang it. Like this is how you
Yeah.
hang the hoodie. But why would you put that on? Why would you do that?
So you can pretend to be a unicorn.
I guess. Well, I think everyone saw what I posted in the Discord. If not, you check my Twitter. But we went to a movie the other day and we saw Thunderbolts again. And my wife saw Lilo and Stitch, like throw over type hoodie thing. And she got it and she wore it in the theater. It was so embarrassing. So embarrassing.
Was that the picture that you posted?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
She was
Yeah,
real happy that I posted that one.
I can only imagine.
Pretty soon we're going to need to put a GoFundMe together to have my own apartment.
Yeah, clearly you're going to have a stash house or something that you're going to have just
Oh,
to
yeah.
survive the nights when you get on the show and run your mouth about your wife.
That's pretty much what happens.
All right, man. So we have a super kind of busy episode only because this was a double match week. It was the first double match week of the season, barring obviously Champions Cup and all that good stuff, Open Cup. But I guess to kind of keep it with some recency bias, Sunday night soccer.
Well, real
You
quick
had some,
before we get into that, if you don't mind,
yeah, go ahead.
how do you feel the quality of MLS is when there's a double match week? I thought maybe we'd start with that because when the first time it happens, or the first couple times that they start to come around, I think we forget how crazy lineups can start getting. And
Yeah.
and obviously it led to some decisions on Atlanta and how they handled their team, or I'm sorry, Philadelphia handled their team there for a little bit. But I think that's been our complaint over the years because of the lack of, roster movements that you can do. What did you think of the quality going from, Saturday to Wednesday back to Saturday?
I mean, I think in general, it still shows a pretty obvious drop, but I don't think it's as maybe as, of course, this is the first one of the season, right? But like, I don't think it was as dramatic as we've seen in the past, where like at some points in the past, you get to that like third game, right? If you have a Saturday, Wednesday, and then another Saturday or a Sunday game, some of those games become unwatchable. Like they're just miserable, right? And I mean, in this case, you had kind of the benefit of both worlds in the sense that you had a handful of pretty decently high scoring games, which you have when you have to rest players, right? Another team just kind of goes off on one and they pick apart a defense that's maybe, holding on by a thread. But then the opposite of that is then you have, attackers that aren't playing, or maybe they're only playing minimal time. So then you have lots and lots of 0-0 draws or, 1-1 draws, which again, that's the game. But I mean, I don't think it was maybe as drastic of a drop off as we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I agree. I think it looks, you look at a team like Miami though,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
ran that situation, and they looked extremely bad. And and that's what we're probably leading into here. But man, that that team, and when this scheduling starts to get crazy, and it is now, because we got another double match week coming up. Boy, oh boy, it's that team is gonna lose a lot of points.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, you look at, let's see, just to kind of give an example, and I'll go back to Wednesday because that was kind of like the quote unquote beginning of the match week. You had let's see, first match of the day, 1-1 draw between Columbus and Montreal. Then you had a 0-0 between DC and New York. Orlando, who is having a pretty good run right now, 3-1 over Charlotte, Philly 3-2 over Galaxy, which is kind of to be expected because looking at that game, they did rotate, but it's the Galaxy and they're struggling. But their starters were the ones that kind of put them back in the game. 1-0 Cincy over Toronto, Dynamo 2-0 over Minnesota, Nashville 2-1 over New York Red Bulls. You had a 2-2 draw, St. Louis SKC, 1-1 Atlanta Austin, 0-0 Portland Salt Lake, LAFC 4-0 over Seattle, San Diego 2-0 over Colorado, and then a 3-3 draw, the one that, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about between San Jose and Inter Miami. So it kind of goes to that point where, like I was saying, you have some in the case of, let's say, LA and Seattle, where if you don't have to rest those star players as much as maybe another team does, especially if they're attackers, you can run the score up on a team. LAFC benefiting from, some veterans. Abobasi came in, he scored in the 51st minute. Yeboah, 86th minute. Like, these are guys that they might not play every single minute of every single match, but when they come in, they can still make a difference. And that's what you want with your depth, right? And it's so hard to get that sometimes in MLS. You have to be very smart about how you build a roster. LAFC's done a pretty good job of it. I think that they maybe have some coaching stuff they've got to figure out too. But then you see other teams that just they do not have a grasp of it. And unfortunately, right now, being completely honest, Atlanta United is one of them. You have a team that the depth isn't quite where it needs to be because the quote unquote normal starting 11 isn't where it needs to
be. I was going to say there's nothing where it should be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was my I was looking at some games to throw some money on yesterday, and I really wanted to throw money on Orlando, and I was just really scared to do it. Obviously, Miami at home. What do you think that they're going to do in that situation? They're going to obviously start their starters. They charge enough for tickets. They got to put on a show, and a show they did not. A ticketless show there, because that was a absolutely abysmal performance by them. Obviously set up to, get some scoring chances. They had them. There were so many block shots. I don't know if you could pull the stats up there, but it felt like just block from Orlando there. And they got countered, consistently countered. And that might be the formula that everybody runs on them until they start fixing their lineup issues, if they can. But it was a mess. But yeah, I don't know how they are going to fix things here, because the story's already running rampant. Miami's broken. They're wasting these stars, like all the hot headlines that are going to get people to read about how MLS is failures and Miami's failures for setting the roster up, where most of these people that are writing these articles don't even understand the rules of MLS. And that's kind of where they are right now. And I know I think this was announced between last Monday about how there's a special transfer window opening up for a few teams here, but they're one of them, and they're already talking about bringing on a keeper. But I don't know how they're going to fix their roster, because look, you could say what you want about this team right now. All that matters is the playoffs. They are going to make the playoffs. There is no way, and every time I say this, I just I hurt myself here when I do this. There's no way that this team does not make the playoffs. So if they make it, I mean, that's the important thing. They need to get the higher seed, obviously, to get home is the home advantage. But man, your last couple performances have just been trash, and they got to get it fixed now.
Yeah, I agree. And then you're talking about the stats. I mean, last night, I think when people look at the kind of like you said, you have people not in MLS, but you have worldwide outlets that they're going to cover Messi because he's Messi. Who cares what the league is, right? And the league, MLS, is unique in many ways. We've looked at all the factors, right? Like We've had the discussion about Javier Mascherano coming in and whether or not he was the right hire. We've had discussions about Messi and all of his friends being, yes, the greatest of all time, but they're older now. Can they keep up with the schedule congestion? Especially, now they're out of the Champions Cup now, but they made a good run in it. And so all that kind of together mixed in with now you've got the doubles, almost triple match weeks, and everything just kind of lining up against them. I don't know that it's fully sustainable. Now, I think what ends up happening is they have a lull, they have a little bit of an ebb, and maybe up until we'll say July, maybe Mascherano's got to be very selective with how he incorporates Messi and some of these, older guys that honestly don't need to be playing that many minutes at this point. And you're thankful that you racked up so many points in the beginning of the season. But some of the mistakes that you made last night were horrendous. And you asked about the stats. So possession was actually 64% in favor of Miami, but they had 1.17 expected goals to Orlando's 3.05. Miami had 21 shots, but only one big chance. And Orlando had 8, which is ridiculous.
Were there a lot of blocks, or was that the gummies that made me think
you
there
had
were
4 shots on target for Miami.
Okay.
So not great, especially considering you took 21 shots overall. I mean, besides that, they had a handful of corners. It's not that they didn't have opportunities to make something happen. They weren't clinical. I mean, again, 4 shots on target out of 21. When you're playing against Orlando, who Pedro Galese is known to be, he's called the Octopus for a reason. He had an 8.8 last night on FOTMob for what it's worth. I mean, he killed it. He also had an assist, which is amazing. But
nobody thought that. I mean, that was a beautiful pass.
Yeah, it was
a beautiful pass to get him on the break, and that's.
They both had 4 saves too. I'll throw that out there. So it wasn't completely one-sided in terms of but Pedro Galese had 4 saves and Oscar Ustari had 4 saves. So, I mean, I don't think it's because I've seen like you mentioned on Twitter, some people are like, "This is it, wrap it up. It's over." Man, as an Atlanta United fan, I wish we were in the boat that Miami's in right now.
Well, now you got Messi complaining about the refs, and that's why I was like, "Oh, first time here."
I know, right?
That's the first time that you've run into these referee problems.
I'm probably a long-time listener, guys.
Yeah.
But then it was that he also did it at the San Jose game as well. If you saw that, Bruce Arena stepped in and kind of pulled him away from the referees because he was about to get a red card at the end of the game.
What a guy. What a guy.
Yeah. I don't know, though. I don't think the sky is falling for Inter Miami. I mean, look, it sucks considering who you have on your team. But it's MLS, man. Look at what happened in the playoffs last year. At least this is happening now and not in the playoffs. Now, who knows what will happen this year? But, I mean, this is not the worst thing in the world to me.
Well, I think that if it continues looking the way that it is, because, I mean, we've seen it with our team where it looks good and maybe they're not getting wins. But then when it just starts looking, I don't know. Like, I understand that they had chances, but you saw the XG wasn't huge. And they just defensively, the counter is deadly for them. And I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with it. Especially when you're getting to some of these faster teams. Get a battle with Columbus at the end of the season, where your guys were, you probably put a lot of minutes on your guys at that point. I would take Columbus any day.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, we got a comment.
Hey, yeah. So this is a perfect time to say this, by the way, because I'm getting messages. My family's coming in here, like showing me screenshots. YouTube is being dumb. So it's not showing on YouTube, but it is on X. It is on Facebook. I'm trying to direct everybody over to X/Twitter. So y'all come jump in. You can comment just like you can on YouTube. It's just a little bit different, maybe a little bit more of a delay. But we do want your comments. That's literally the whole point of this show. We want to chat with y'all. But that is why the comments section is a little quiet right now, because YouTube is acting idiotic this Monday evening.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, to kind of finish up this match. They've got some things to fix here. There was a comment made about the roster building, and you heard talks of Miami complaining about it last season. Once they were knocked out of the playoffs, and you're continuing to see it. And then I think Fabian actually wrote an article about it saying that MLS, and I'm pretty sure this came up last year too. I want to say it came up. I don't remember what competition it was. Maybe it was no, it was Leagues Cup, where they were just saying like, okay, if all the MLS teams crash out, Garber is gonna talk about adding another DP spot.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm fine with more quality. You want to get the league to be better, and I understand. It gets to the point again where you want to make sure that the teams that don't spend as much don't become in a huge deficit. But look what happens. I mean, look at teams that spend a lot of money. Atlanta, that spends a lot of money and it doesn't work out. Like, you still have to spend the money wisely. And this is in every sport. Basketball, the Phoenix Suns got a bunch of superstars on their team, didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, those things are going to happen. But you got to be able to spend the money right. But you want to grow the quality of the league, which is obviously huge. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens here, if depending on how far these teams could go.
Yeah, I agree.
But I was just gonna say real quick, shout out to MLS though. Well, I mean, a lot of these rivalry matches made sense. Some absolutely did not.
Some did not, for sure.
But I do like what they did on this Sunday night. It made me want to turn on the Battle of Florida, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
And then, look, I understand the situation the Galaxy's in here, but that game was probably one of the better games I've watched this season. I've watched a ton outside of Atlanta, but it was a banger.
A derby game is supposed to be that, right? Like, that's the game. That's the moment where put all the other crap to the side. Put the fact that the Galaxy is statistically the worst team in the league, though Montreal and Atlanta are really, really trying to fight for that too. You put all that crap to the side and you play against your hated rival, and especially LA. I mean, the Galaxy and LAFC are unique in the sense that they're the only real, we want to call it a derby, in the sense that it's the same city. Realistically, because I know there's the Hudson River Derby. We're going to talk about it. One's New Jersey, one's New York. It's not the same thing. It's just not. It'd be different if you had, a couple of actual soccer stadiums, which New York City is about to have, but inside, the relative New York area. That's what we're talking about. Galaxy and LAFC, the only ones that have that. El Trafico has kind of become the big one. And I love that over the past couple of years, they've done like the July 4th El Trafico. Like, that's been really cool. But I think those games bring out the best in a team. And it also has the chance of, even if, like in this case, the Galaxy pulled a draw, which was great for them, relatively speaking, maybe that's a little bit of confidence that they can go forward with and make something happen. Because we're going to talk about it here in a second, but like Marco Reus had one of his better games. He scored a brace. He scored a banger of a free kick. Marco Reus, coming into the league, was one of the bigger names over the past, 12 months. And he got here and took a dump. So you hope that if you're a Galaxy fan, maybe this was just what you needed to start getting something until you can get Ricky Pooch back. But it was a great game. It was a phenomenal game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Bouanga goal, we were live last night, and I screamed because, I mean, that was a great goal. Fantastic. And, going into the second half, you go in there and it's again back and forth, and the Galaxy had two opportunities to win that game. They had a goal that was disallowed, which immediately, as soon as you saw it, there was like, there is no way that is going to be onside. But there was also, I think with Pencil, there was a very questionable hit in the box where
Yep.
their legs met, and they didn't call a penalty there. I think Taylor Twellman was like, I don't know, that might be a penalty.
Yeah.
But man, I really wish it was a penalty because look, when your team's in the garbage, I root for chaos and chaos only, and the bets that I make. Those are the only two things I root for. And yeah, I was really hoping. I was really hoping that they were going to get it there and get a win.
Yeah, I did too. Really quick, let me hit on this, Danny. So Inter Miami does play Galaxy on August 16th, just so you know. So if the Galaxy is still in the same form, they'll have Ricky Pooch back by then. But if they're in the same form then that they are now, I don't know what to expect out of that one. But yeah, I mean, I think this version of El Trafico was one of the more fun ones to watch. They're always entertaining. I feel like it's not like you really have boring ones, but the way this one went down, the Galaxy, God, they give it's literally that commercial with the guy with the dollar bill and the fishing pole. And he's like, "Oh, you almost had it. You almost had it." Like they've started off the past couple matches and they scored goals. Like they've looked okay. They're creating opportunities, but then they just give up I don't want to say the worst goals because that Buanga goal was a freaking banger, like you said. But then they were still able to pull it back at the end of the match thanks to that free kick. Now it's a moment of brilliance. You can't rely on that, but I don't know. I just it was an enjoyable soccer game, and I always like it, especially being an Eastern Conference guy, that you can look at those kind of matchups. And Waffle House saying in the chat that Portland Seattle was good as well. I mean, like you had some really good, quote unquote derby matches this weekend, but I think the Galaxy LAFC, you have to make that one as prime time as you possibly can every time it comes up.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think I said this last week, but I think that overall MLS has done a pretty good job being able to pick these games for Sunday night. And it makes me want to watch, even though it's not I don't know too much about some of these teams. Absolutely. I'll turn it on because they've been almost all pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll see what happens this Sunday, but hope that it continues with the quality. And, and again, real quick, I mean, what they do, they've got sideline reporters. They've got people, chiming in from the supporter section, from the tailgates before the game. Everything that they do right now is just absolutely phenomenal. And I wish, and again, this would cost money, but doing this across the league, having some of these MLS announcers out there before. Like I know you do the pre-show and it's you got limited time before, but even if you wanted to expand that. Now I know they're not going to because we've heard how much money Apple's losing, so I doubt they want to throw more money into camera crews going into the supporters tailgates and talking to all of them. But man, think what it could be down the line when MLS continues to grow, hopefully. There's no guarantee that it will, but hopefully that it does. And you could do this. You could do this for an afternoon game. Like, absolutely. And the Sunday back to back, I mean, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. They should be taking advantage of this because you're at the point now in the season. You've got about a month left of the NBA, a month left of the NHL. They're both going into the conference finals right now. Those are going to be gone. All you've got is baseball, which there's going to be one baseball fan that's going to rip me apart in the comments about this. And there's someone yelling in the background. I don't know if you can hear
that. How dare you say this about America's pastime?
I think baseball's a dying sport. I do.
I do too.
I mean the ratings show on that it's just been dying a lot over the years. They're not going to be on ESPN anymore. So you've got that, and you've got the WNBA. Like those are the main things that you have. And that's really it. I mean, you got, some race car, I don't get into the NASCAR and all of that, but I mean, some people like it, but still you don't have a lot going on. So you
But if
need to
there's
take
two sports
advantage
that are not
of
gonna
Sundays
compete,
while you can.
it's NASCAR and soccer. Like, yeah, that is like, to me, that is a very minimal crossover anyway. So, but yeah, I totally agree.
What's the other racing league?
Oh,
F1?
oh yeah, F1. Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's some sickos out there. That I'm in a couple group chats with that love it. So maybe there's some F1 and soccer turnover or whatever.
Yeah,
See, this
especially because you
kid's
have
pissed at me right now.
clearly you made fun of his favorite game.
I mean, MLB sucks, kid. What do you want? All right.
Angels in the Outfield, child.
Don't you talk shit about that movie, Tyler.
No, I like the movie. It's a good one. You know this. We've had this discussion on our Patreon episodes. Which, by the way,
Hi.
hey
Now
kid, go
this is
join
hiding.
Patreon. If you're not on our Patreon, patreon.com/scarves and spikes. We've had a handful of people signing up here over the past few days, which is great. Had a lot over the past few weeks. We appreciate y'all sticking with us from an Atlanta perspective because it's not been great to be an Atlanta United fan, but we're trying to bring you guys content. We've got the unfiltered video coming out this week. All of us have been terribly busy because of the month of May. It is wild. I have birthdays. Sydney's planning things. Henry's graduating. Aaron's graduating. There's always something going on in the month of May. But, we appreciate you guys hanging with us. But go to patreon.com/scarves and spikes. You get into the Discord. We have all kinds of good chats going on there about soccer, world soccer, and every other topic imaginable. Tommy betting on things, etc., etc.
I get back to the Patreon. We've been doing some contests. We keep it lively. I just won another one today, so we'll throw another contest up there.
There you go. So yeah, y'all jump in the Patreon. It's a good time. Patreon.com/scarves and spikes, and of course scarvesandspikes.com for all your Atlanta United content, news, analysis, articles, opinions, etc. And then shout out to Sweetwater Brew. Obviously makers of the Rowdy Peach IPA 420, G13, a handful of other beers, tons of them that are coming out now. But just a shout out to our partner, Sweetwater Brew. Y'all go check out sweetwaterbrew.com for all the information on all of their beers, everything that they have going on. They just wrapped up 420 Fest a few weeks ago. We gave away tickets for that, which was a good time. So yeah, y'all go show our partner Sweetwater some love. And with that, do you want to jump over?
I've got a couple of minutes left, so I'll hang out with you.
Okay. All right. So this morning, a certain portion of MLS Twitter was going off the chain. Because a Swedish outlet or outlets, I'm not sure, reported that St. Louis's coach, Olaf Melberg, was like imminently being fired. Like it was a matter of time. They were basically saying that it essentially has already happened and you're just kind of waiting on the news to drop. Well, Tom Bogert jumped in a few hours later. He reported that it was premature, was I think the word he used, but that their front office is keeping a really close eye on the situation. Now, the situation is, tell me if this sounds familiar. They have 11 points in 14 matches, St. Louis does.
I knew you were going here. Okay.
They scored 11 goals. Atlanta United has 11 points in 14 matches. They have scored 14 goals. Guess how many of those goals have been own goals?
I'm St. Louis because I know the Atlanta answer.
No, the Atlanta. Yeah. No, St. Louis. I don't even know if they have any, but
I was like, wow, did they have a bunch of own goals too? Well,
no,
it's 3. Isn't it 3?
It's 3, which brings the total number of goals that they've actually scored with their own feet down to 11. Now, y'all know me. I'm not a Ronnie Dyla out person. But St. Louis, in their case, they would be jumping ship on another coach relatively quickly if this goes forward. Now, again, Tom's saying that this is it's a little premature, but there's clearly some smoke there. And I think there's a little bit more smoke than you would normally get randomly on the internet.
Do you think he leaked it himself?
I don't think so. I don't think
Tom. No. Well, not that Tom leaked it, that the manager leaked it.
Oh, I don't know. Explain. Why do you let's dive into that rabbit hole. Why would he do that?
Maybe he just wants out. maybe it's a bad situation for everybody here. And he was like, is so you said it was Swedish?
Swedish media, yeah.
Is he Swedish? I don't know. I don't know anything about him.
Olaf, I actually don't know if.
Yeah, that sounds a little Swedish.
Um,
I was literally just watching one of the Swedish hockey teams, and I think there were like 2 Olafs in it. So
he did respond. He said, "I don't think too much on that, to be honest. We're just looking at the next game and how to win that." Kind of weird answer. Honestly, I think if there was like this massive thing coming out, he is Swedish, by the way.
I
If
knew
there
it.
was this thing coming out that was like, "Hey, he's going to get fired," my answer in a press conference would be emphatically like, "I have no freaking idea what you're talking about. If that's true, this is news to me." I just kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not a PR person though, so it just seems like a very low key kind of way to respond to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
I mean, if you show me these 2 team stats, okay, and like you don't even show me like what their roster construction is, because one did not have expectations.
yep,
Oh, so that's St. Louis, and Atlanta does. Now, you could be dedicated to a rebuild there. Now, obviously, they had they came in looking pretty good,
yeah,
but you understood that you needed to fix this roster and get it to where you needed to be. But if I looked at both, I wouldn't blame either team. I would expect more from the Atlanta side, saying we have high expectations and this isn't working,
yeah,
and we've given this guy way more talent than the other guy, and the performance isn't there. But I mean, we had MLS Moves Will show up on our spaces on Saturday, talking about the same thing. Like, how do you with both these teams? Like, it's got to be a tough decision to make here. I mean, because it's different in MLS, I think, because in other sports like the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, there's just some teams that know that they are in a rebuild, and it could take years.
yeah,
In MLS, especially where the money that you make from tickets and from merch are all even more important, because you're not making as much as these other leagues. You need to keep your fans invested.
yep,
And if it goes that bad the way it is, then you got to make that decision. And I think that MLS has been criticized a lot over the years for not moving fast enough on their coach, because that's like all we see, like in our discourse. Like, if this is any other league, this manager's fired.
yeah,
And it's hard to disagree with that at all, because absolutely, like, it's that bad with these teams that you have to make that decision. Do you, because will it help? Maybe not as much. I mean, you get that. Not only does the team get the new manager push, but you also get your fans saying, "Okay, this isn't good. This mediocrity is not good enough," and they're doing something about it, even if it's just a temporary coach coming in. That still gives the fans something that says, "Okay, we're doing something a little bit different here." Because if not, then the other thing is that they're just saying this, this president, or this general manager or this owner doesn't care about this team, and it's just going to let us suffer for the rest of the year. So if I look at both these coaches, I mean, I wouldn't blame either team for getting rid of them. But it is funny that it leaked. I mean, and that could be that the manager's not happy there either, because there's players and there's managers that come into this league and it's not what they expected. And maybe they're just trying to push it out a little bit faster.
yeah. The site that kind of had it this morning was Fotboll, BOLL transfers.com. Obviously a Swedish site.
That sounds like a fake site.
It does
That sounds like
like
a site where you click in. It's like, you could get 5 jerseys for the price of 1 if you click now.
You mean the one that you buy your jerseys from out of China?
That is DHgate, okay? I can't order jerseys there anymore. I'm pretty sure that when last I went on there, it was like, there could be additional costs at the U.S. border. So I've held back for that for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's unhappy. I mean, obviously we're not on the end with St. Louis as we are obviously with Atlanta, but I mean, just kind of judging from everything that we've seen, like watching the games and covering it here on MLS Monday and everything else. I mean, I agree with you in the sense that like it wouldn't shock me if he or Dyla or a handful of other coaches were let go tomorrow. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want to see that happen to anybody, but it wouldn't shock me. But then you go back to the beginning of the season, and St. Louis had an identity actually in the beginning of the season, and I said it here on the show, like specifically, I said that they can do this kind of park the bus defensive scheme all they want to because they were getting at least results in the beginning. But the moment that that fails, they're not scoring goals. Nothing's going to go right for this team at all. You go back to the beginning of the season. They drew St. Louis. I mean, I'm sorry. They drew Colorado. Then they drew San Diego. Then they beat Galaxy 3-0. Then they beat Seattle 1-0. Then they lost Philly, Austin, SKC, Columbus, drew Vancouver, drew St. Louis, lost to Seattle, and then they won in the Open Cup. Lost to San Diego, drew SKC again, and then they just got whooped 3-0 by Minnesota. So outside of the Open Cup match, they haven't won a game since March 15th. It's been a minute. And they're sitting, like I said, on the same amount of points right now as Atlanta United.
Is this their second year or third year?
This is their third year. It all runs together, doesn't it? Like
It really does. And with all these teams, I think you're right. I think it's 3.
Yeah, third year. They started in 2023.
Their first year was the real good year.
Yes, the first year was off the chain.
Last year was not good.
Last year, let's see where they ended. If it'll show me easily here.
If you bring a new manager in, and
but they've had a handful.
It probably wasn't good.
Thing. Last year I think it was just mediocre.
Yeah.
They ended in the West. Yeah, well, okay, so mediocre maybe is giving them a little bit of credit. They were 12th out of 14.
Okay.
37
So,
points.
I mean, it's your third year in the league. You had a lot of momentum coming in. You got a lot of ticket sales. You made a fantastic year. Your expectations were going through the roof, and that's been happening with a lot of expansion teams throughout sports. Like the NHL, it seems like every team that comes in the NHL is all of a sudden really good for the first couple of years.
Yep.
And part of that's with the expansion draft, but still, like you used to see when an expansion team would come into any league, man, they would be terrible. There'd be like one team that would do really well, but like now it's just back to back to back teams that just seem to be doing extremely well. Now San Diego's doing all right.
Yeah, San Diego's giving a pretty good account of themselves. They're third in the West right now. So
yeah, I mean, and that's because I think a lot of people thought they were going to be one of the better teams or one of the worst teams. Like there was no in the middle there, and they're definitely doing well. But you need to keep your fans invested into a team that early into a franchise. You can't make them an afterthought, and that's probably one of their worries. Is that a couple years in, you got all this momentum, and now it's dying out, and you got to make it. Question for you, and maybe look this up while I'm rambling here. Get out of there. My
that
dog.
kid come back?
No, my dog's trying to eat something. What? How many coaches did Cincinnati go through to start their MLS tenure? Because didn't they go through quite a few? And there was like one that didn't one yell a slur or something. They got him out pretty quick. Maybe I'm misremembering this, but I feel like
Charlotte.
Was it Charlotte?
Charlotte
I
has
swear Cincinnati went
gone through a handful. Now, of course, I mean you go back into the USL days, but I mean you've had. Let's see. I'm trying to see if it shows in here. Yeah,
I
so
feel like
they
I
fired their
feel like they went their few.
first coach, Alan Koch, after he started 2-7-2. Assistant coach, Johan DeMay, was named interim head coach. Then they hired Ron Jans, and he resigned. Yes, he resigned on February 17th, my wife's birthday, 2020, amidst an investigation into his alleged use of a racial slur. Then they hired,
Right before the season started.
yeah, and COVID. um,
Oh yeah, I guess that too.
then they got rid of their general manager in 2021. Then they had Yopstom for a little bit, got rid of him, and then they had Tyrone Marshall. Yeah, I mean they've been through a lot. And then they finally hired Pat Noonan in December of 2021. So they've been
So
all over.
I applaud them though, because they didn't sit around there. And like I don't know, the Cincinnati's financial situation or their ownership. So I'm not going to talk to that at all. But what my point here is that they weren't going to sit around and let I mean, obviously the slur thing was a whole different world. But when this team was real bad, they moved on quickly and they finally found their right guy. Took them some time.
I mean, it took them 3
It took
years.
them some money. It
Yeah,
took them some cash, because
yeah,
that's the main thing that ownership looks for is, yeah, it took us some cash to fix this, but we did. And I applaud them for being bold, because you could just be sitting around saying, okay, well, let's see if it works out. We'll give them some different players, but they didn't. They went out there and fixed. They got the right coach, and that's what St. Louis might need to do. That might be what Atlanta might need to do. So, yeah, I mean, you can't hold on to a guy too long in this league, because you're not, unless you are the only sport in town. And I can't think of a team right now that, it's basically just MLS, but you have a lot of other teams that want to take your money away from from you. You know, People will spend money in the MLB, the NFL, NHL, NBA, the WNBA. All of these teams or leagues out there are going to try and take money away from MLS. So you have to stay relevant here, and that's the struggle that you run into here. Absolutely.
yeah.
Portland.
I
Well,
was gonna say Portland, but in my head I thought there was another.
there's an NBA team in Portland, isn't there?
I thought there was. You're asking the wrong person. I am fully soccer. The good thing is, I mean, up in Portland they have a
Wait, don't they have
they
the
have a
Trailblazers?
women's team. Oh yeah, yeah,
They still exist. And it was questioning me, like, did they move? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've got the NBA there.
yeah. They do.
Baseball,
Yeah,
they do not.
no,
Yeah, and
Couch
then
President.
it's that's really a college town.
Yeah,
You got Oregon State.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean that's still that's not as much, but still you need to be relevant there, because someone else is ready to take your dollar. And if a team goes on a run, those people will fall in love with them and maybe get season tickets to them, and you've lost your season ticket holder to come
yeah,
back. So you've got to do everything you can there, and I just don't think it's, yeah. How much is being patient and how much is being impatient? I guess is the thing here, and that's, and again, Atlanta's a team. I know we try not to talk too much Atlanta on MLS week, but like they've been through a lot. They've been through a lot of coaches over the past couple of years,
yeah.
and what has, people wanted a Pineda gone after a while. And that's the thing. Like, it's just how much is it? How much? And I say the same for St. Louis. Have you lost the locker room? Is it just not there? Have they, is the ownership monitoring the practice? They talk to the players. Those are all things that you need to do to be able to figure out, should you move on? I mean, obviously, what was the manager that just got taken out or just got fired that was there forever?
Come on.
Uh,
Oh, at SKC, Peter Vermees.
Yeah, I mean, he was there forever, and there's definitely been some there's had to have some conversations throughout the years of this exact thing. Do we hold on to him? Do we move on? Like, that's got to be absolutely hard for them to be able to do, to figure out, like, When do you make that move? And they finally made it this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then we'll wrap up on St. Louis before we jump over, but like, and we'll jump to Cincinnati since we're kind of on that topic. But I think the thing about St. Louis is I really do think another coach could completely turn that team around because they've at least shown that they can adapt to an identity, and they have goal scorers that are just not being utilized very well. This team was a park the bus team from the get go, and part of that is you have to be able to counter effectively, and they haven't. And so I think just another coach coming in with some different ideas could probably turn that team around. But then you look at Atlanta, I think it's a gamble. I really do. Like, is another coach going to be able to fix it? Or is another coach going to fall flat on his face? Is it just the players? They're like, what's the issue? Ask anybody that covers the team. Ask, the analysts at MLS who have been on our show multiple times. Like, nobody has an answer for that one. And so it is a conundrum for sure, because it is a gamble, because you might go and get rid of a coach and then you're stuck in the same exact boat you were 6 months ago. So it's
100%.
a crappy place to be. All right. Well, on Cincinnati, we did have a derby. Hell is real. It occurred. 1-1 draw. But Cincy gave a pretty good account of themselves, considering that they weren't playing at home.
They've been producing great matches for years, and it's one of the better rivalries. And they had, I don't know if you saw, they had special kits made.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
That
those
was
were pretty
pretty
cool.
Yeah. I liked it.
We've been getting a lot of bad storms in Ohio, so the hell is real sign. Like, whenever there's a bad storm, people are like, please go check on it, because that sign looks like it's going to fall at any point. Whenever you drive and you head down to Cincinnati, you see it, and you're just like, how is this thing still holding up? But having the devils and everything drawn in the numbers, I mean, that's a cool little thing that you could do to, I mean, it doesn't spice the rivalry up, but it makes it a little bit cooler.
I mean, I think it would be cool if both teams and or MLS or some combination of the supporters groups or whatever were to go in and, put up, especially when that one goes, put up their own sign and make it to where, the supporters groups can each decorate one side of it in their own way, for hell is real. Make it to where it's, it's its own billboard that stays there, but it's specifically for the rivalry. I think it'd be cool.
When that sign dies, keep the sign up.
Keep the sign as long as it'll stay, for sure. Don't change that. That was a moment when I came up there for MLS Cup and we went, and then I was on my way back and I was like, oh, there it is. There's the hell is real sign.
Yeah, it's a cool little thing that they made, and like a lot of people just don't understand it, and until you drive and see the sign,
Yeah.
people are like, "What? I don't get it."
I actually didn't get it for the longest time. And then when it finally clicked, when I finally realized what the heck everybody was talking about, I was like, oh, well, that's South Georgia for us. Like, down in South Georgia, you have that kind of stuff everywhere. I mean, everywhere. It's a country kind of middle of nowhere thing on the interstate, but there's
It's
definitely
all
not
in Columbus. There's a lot of religious signs. When I have to drive to Columbus a lot for work and then come back, and there's always these like weird religious signs there. I call the numbers. I get bored when I'm by myself and just see what they say.
Maybe I should start doing that. When I went down multiple times last year to cover Orlando and, well, Atlanta and Orlando and Miami, I resorted on the way back from that Miami match. I resorted to talking to AI on my phone. It was that bad, dude. I was like, I got to make it back to Orlando or I'm
You're
gonna.
married, man. You don't need that.
Dude, it was 3 o'clock in the morning.
I understand, but sometimes it's just good to just enjoy the silence, or a good podcast, or a good
But if
song.
I enjoyed the silence, I was drifting off into the tree line.
Oh,
It was one of those. But anyway,
yeah, it was a great match.
yeah,
Absolutely. And Columbus is, I think they still got some rooms that they can make on the roster this summer, which makes it dangerous. It makes them very dangerous. They filled the DP spot up, but they still got some room, and they've been selling players. I think we underestimated them. I went back and started looking at some of our MLS predictions, and holy shit, we were off.
really bad. It was really
Yeah,
bad.
we're real
No,
back. Well, at that time we were, when we made those, I mean, Columbus, just got rid of Cucho,
yeah,
and then it was like, oh, this is, what are they doing right before the season? We knew they were going to replace him, but like, who knew what they were going to do without Cucho,
yep.
without without bringing in a DP at that time? I mean, just absolutely fantastic performances.
And that's the second now. We have a long way to go in this season, but that's the second time in 3 years, almost 3 years now, that Columbus has gotten rid of a star player and not sticking
Zelleran,
at all. Yeah, Zellerang in the middle of the summer, and everybody's like, "Well, there goes the season," and then they go and win MLS. It's wild.
absolutely, yeah.
It's very,
I mean,
very
that's
well
that's
run.
what good roster management does.
Yeah. 1-1 draw for them. I mean, it was a classic derby. It was, I think, everything you wanted. Now, if you're a fan of either team, you obviously wanted the win, but I think from a neutral standpoint, it was probably what you expected.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe some more goals.
yeah, since he went up early, I think that was maybe the false flag. It's 6 minute Dinky scores, and it's like, oh, here we go. This might kick off because now away from home, they're up a goal. And Columbus, they struggled a little bit, but then they earned the penalty. Diego Rossi scores it, I think, in the 56th minute, and that was kind of the tail of the game. But like, it was a little bit of a chess match in a way, and I'm here for that, especially when you have you know other games like Toronto and Montreal turning into 6-1 beatdowns, and then all kinds of other ones. I'll take the two really good teams just kind of going tit for tat. That's fun to watch sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, all right, the next derby. This one, we do at the end of the show our Sweetwater matches to watch, and I kind of have this thing because I know you're normally not on here with me and Sydney. Normally it's Sunday and Wednesday for you. There's always my Snoop Dogg drunk uncle game of the week. To me, the Hudson River Derby was that this weekend. New York City and New York Red Bulls, I don't think either one of them know what they want to be. They are the most up and down inconsistent teams. Like, you never know what you're going to get with them. Box of
For
chocolates
years,
for years, 100%.
because there was that time where the Red Bulls and New York, I mean, they were the top. They
Yeah.
were consistently at the top of the league, and now it's just been kind of, who are you going to get? And
Yep.
even like that, did you really think that the Red Bulls were going to go as far as they did last season?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Especially considering what they didn't do in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, you look at over the past, let's say, so we'll start with the Red Bulls. Over the past 5 games, they lost this one to New York City 2-0. Before that, they lost 2-1 to Nashville. They beat the Galaxy 7-0 before that. 4-1 in the Open Cup over the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. And then they beat Miami 4-1. I'm sorry, they got beat by Miami 4-1. So they're just kind of up and down. And then you have New York City, which is they're only a few points ahead of them in the standings. 0-0 draw to DC. They gave Montreal their first win of the season. 1-0, got beat by the Pittsburgh Riverhounds in the Open Cup, and they beat Cincinnati 1-0.
I love the
It's
Riverhound Stadium. It's
I do too. It's
beautiful.
really cool. It's amazing.
Beautiful. I've been there. It's great.
Oh, have you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones to when Atlanta, when the twos were in USL. I loved watching them go to that stadium. It was so much fun.
All their stadiums are pretty cool over there.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
No,
PNC
I mean,
Park is the best baseball stadium I think I've ever been to.
really.
Yeah, it's super cool. All
I
right,
would I
sorry.
would go, I would go to Pittsburgh. And then as a side note, our good buddy Michael Parkhurst, his new stadium up in Rhode Island is similar. I mean, you don't have like the river view, but it's on the river. Like
Yeah,
the broadcast maybe doesn't show as much of the river as you would like, but really, really neat spot, really cool place. So, but
so
yeah,
back to the
Hudson River
match.
Derby. Yeah, back. So, um, New York City, they win 2-0. I think the thing that stood out to me in this game the most, when you think of the Red Bulls, what do you immediately always think of?
Press and physicality.
Yeah, they press, they go after you, they just want to turn the ball over in a good spot, and then they're going to go try and score off of it. They don't want the ball. New York City, in this game, they let the Red Bulls have 65% possession. And I don't know that the Red Bulls knew what to do with their feet with the ball that much. And I really do think because some teams are like that. Like they don't want the ball. They want you to have it and then force you into a dumb mistake and then go capitalize on it. And that's the Red Bulls to a T. That's how they've always been. New York City kind of played them like a fiddle in this one, in my opinion. I mean, now the second half, if you look at we talk about the momentum chart and all that stuff and the eye test, but you look at the momentum chart in the second half of this game, and it was all Red Bulls. They just had the ball. They weren't doing anything with it. New York City capitalized on the little bit of opportunities they had. They're playing at Citi Field, so their quote unquote home game. They had 36% possession. Their expected goals was almost 2 to the Red Bulls 0.4. It was just a complete come apart by the Red Bulls. I just thought it was interesting though, because you make the Red Bulls play the game that they don't want to play, and they just don't know what to do. And good for New York City for figuring out how to make it happen.
Absolutely. I mean, confusing teams. I mean, you've seen some matches where everybody changes the formation up, and you go, "This isn't what I thought." And that's like what drives me crazy about coaches when they're like, "Yeah, they came out something we didn't expect." Okay, well, you're the manager of this team. You need to be prepared for these type of things,
Yeah.
and be able to get your team to adjust quickly. Because if not, I mean, you could be down 2-0 extremely quick, if you don't have your team prepared for that.
Yeah, I
Is there?
agree.
I have a question. I don't think I've asked you this before, but when you turn in lineups, like they just both turn them in blind, and then they find out the same time that everyone else does. Is that how that works?
Yeah. Yeah, they get turned in to the refs / the league. I forget. I want to say it's like an hour and a half or 2 hours beforehand or something, and then they get released. You know,
That'd be pretty cool if the home team got an advantage and got to see it first.
I mean, yeah, that would be an interesting way to go about changing it up a little bit, changing the rules.
Something stupid. I mean, in the NHL, the home team gets the last line change,
Yeah,
which is huge because for matchups when you
it's like
got players coming
home
in
and
and
home
out.
in baseball. Like you always you want to be the team in my opinion in baseball. You want to be the team that bats last. You have that opportunity at the end of the game. So I get that for sure.
Yeah, it's just something small, but like in the NHL, like that's huge because if your scoring line comes out, the away team scoring line comes out, you put your defensive lineup out against them. So you're matching. You could do your matchups as much as you want in hockey when you're the home team. Like you've got that advantage, so it makes you a little bit harder for the away teams to come into a home barn and play that way. But I was always just curious about that. I figured that's probably what it was, is that it was both blind.
Yeah.
So you got 1 hour. You got 1 hour to try to figure things out from there. And again, like, and we've seen some matchups throughout the season with our team where, I mean, Berhalter came out and brought in a different lineup that what wasn't expected, and it completely unraveled Atlanta there. It, but that's why in MLS you're paid the medium bucks to be able to figure this out so that your team is ready for that game. You got to be ready for anything.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it from like a preparation standpoint, I mean, the home team is at the stadium for most of the day. You're prepping, you're going over the last minute stuff, you're looking at kind of what you expect them to do. And then around the time that you're going to go out for warmups is when the lineups get dropped. So you have a little bit of a chat, then you go out, you warm up, you come back in for a few minutes, and you have that final little 10-minute locker room moment to get fully kitted out, dressed, and the coach is probably yelling some last minute adjustments and all that kind of stuff. Where it gets difficult is like in some cases where you have the same or similar lineup, but then all of a sudden the formation changes, and it's like, oh well, now we've got maybe this wing back is actually playing more of like a center back, and so it changes kind of the back line and then how they move forward. That's where it gets difficult, and that's where you have to have a really good manager to be able to adapt quickly, not at halftime, because by that point, if you wait until halftime against a good team and a good coach that can play the chess game, then the battle's lost at that point. And I think it's what
Yeah.
you see a lot of times. So it is very interesting to kind of see how those chess matches play out even before the ball's ever kicked. All right. So we'll touch on this one, then we can get to our matches. Um, I'll read out the ones that are coming up because we have Open Cup this week as well. But there was one other derby. Montreal got absolutely murdered by Toronto, 6-1.
Vancouver, or I'm sorry, Toronto's heating up.
Yeah, they are. Bernadeschi had a brace. I mean, you had players scoring left and right. It was crazy. I mean, they went
There
up
was a
one.
red card in it.
There was a red card, but they went up 1-0 before the red card, and then the red card happened. It was a dog, so it was the right call. But then, from that point on, it was just like, all right, now there's no chance, and Toronto just turned it on from that point. Joel Waterman got the red in the 21st minute, and then from that point, Toronto scored 3 more goals before Montreal scored one in like the 66th minute, I think it was, and then Toronto still had another one after that. But we talked about the derbies, right? We talked about hell is real and it being like a chess match. This was the opposite of the chess match. This is the one that you watch just to see goals happen.
I don't think there would have been much of a difference with the red card, to be honest with you. Toronto's been heating up. I mean, I think was it last week? I think they beat DC at home, and DC, I mean, couldn't get any opportunities at all. I mean, with Benteke, I mean, he couldn't. They were defending him extremely well, and they couldn't get anything going. Now, look, I know it's DC, but Benteke is still a beast to play there. And that was one of the games. It was an afternoon game, I think. And I was like, okay, I'll watch that game for a little bit. And I mean, they held them there, and they played great at home there, and they continue to play well here. But now your schedule is going to start getting a little bit more difficult, and if they could start proving it against some real good teams, that's an unexpected thing because we thought Toronto was cooked for years. Got some old men on there.
Yep. It seems like they finally cut the drama, and things are somewhat starting to fall into place for them.
About time.
Sometimes that's what you need. All right, so real quick, we'll touch on the Open Cup, my favorite tournament in existence. They're in the round of 16 now. So not many to go over, but tomorrow at 7:30, you have New England and Chicago. And then at 10:30.
Who wants that 3 times in a year?
You're right. That's a crap show. Then at 10:30, you have a somewhat better match in San Jose and Portland.
Okay.
Then Wednesday.
Joseph starts that one, I assume.
I would think so. Then Wednesday, you've got the full slate. You've got at 7:30, you've got 5 Red Bulls in Dallas, okay. Orlando and Nashville.
All right, that's a good one.
That is a good one. My favorite one, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, Riverhounds. That one should be fun. So, and they're the only non-MLS team left in it at this point.
Go Riverhounds.
Yeah. Then DC United and Charlotte, Minnesota and St. Louis, which is essentially a rematch.
Is Benteke, he's hurt, correct? He got taken out early.
I believe so. I'll double check, but I think so.
Okay. Because you got to think like a team like DC throws they throw out you got to throw everything in at the Open Cup.
Yeah,
absolutely. So them missing him is huge.
Charlotte is on a downward spiral right now too. So you take advantage of the fact that they're kind of coming apart if you can. And then so then the last one at 9:00 is Austin and the Houston Dynamo. So you got a Texas Derby in there for the Open Cup. So that'll be a good one. Any of those, I know you kind of mentioned, but any of those kind of stand out?
Well, you got to root for the underdog. There's an underdog left, so you have to root for the underdog. Absolutely. But we just said the Texas Derby late at night. I think that's going to be a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really wish there were some games on tonight, to be honest with you.
I know.
This is the first night in about a month and a half where there's no NHL or NBA on tonight. There's nothing. Yeah. It's just baseball and one WNBA game.
Would have been the perfect night for it for sure. All All these are on CBS now, which is cool. Now that we're past the round, it started with the round of 32, but it's not just on YouTube anymore. So you got that going for you from a
So
broadcast
they're
standpoint.
so they're on Paramount.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. All right. So
And then
that's the
what's
open. Hmm?
yeah, I was gonna say. So what's coming up this weekend?
So this weekend, all right. So Sweetwater matches to watch. I'm going to give you the whole list. I'll give you mine, the one that I think is going to be the game to watch, and then you kind of listen out and give me yours. But starting off Saturday at 3 o'clock, we have Sounders versus Dallas. 4:45, you got San Diego versus the Galaxy. 7:30,
Okay.
the whole you got a whole bunch. You got Montreal versus LAFC, Charlotte versus Columbus.
Wait, did you say Montreal and LAFC? Okay.
Yeah. Charlotte and Columbus, DC and Red Bulls, Orlando and the Timbers, Philly and Miami, Toronto and Nashville. Then at 8:30, you got Minnesota Austin, SKC New England, 9:30 Colorado and St. Louis, Salt Lake and Vancouver. And then at 10:30 you got San Jose and the Dynamo. And then jumping to Sunday, you have 3 o'clock, the early game. Yeah. New York and Chicago, and then the Sunday night soccer game at 7 o'clock, which by the way, y'all come out early, 5 o'clock. We've got our live show at the Signia Hotel right next to the Benz, but that one is Atlanta United versus FC Cincinnati. So yay.
I'm
So
not
out of
impressed with a
all,
lot of these games, to be honest with you.
you said you're
There's
not,
the I'm not. I
I'm
don't
not
think
either.
there's not a lot that really jumps out to me at all. But I will say that because it's the team and it's the team and an unexpected team doing well. It's got to be Philadelphia, Miami.
That's a good one.
And look, and it's easy to just say that Miami's the team to watch here, but I love just watching a good train wreck. That's why I went and saw Final Destination yesterday. I was like, you love seeing disasters and chaos there. But Philadelphia has just been a team that has just been fun to watch. Brebo's been fantastic, and neither one of these teams play midweek.
Right.
Oh wait, no,
Philly does. They
Philly
play
does, yeah, Philly does, and you expect them to probably rotate there. Maybe they give a similar lineup to what they did in the first half against Atlanta,
Yep.
and then so you don't have to play those guys. And then yeah, let's see what happens in there. And it's at Philadelphia.
I believe so. I'm pulling it up now. Yeah. Yep. At Philly.
Things are not getting easier for Messi and friends.
Yeah, I know.
It's not.
It's gonna be a tough one. It'll be a tough one. So my Sweetwater match to watch. I'm actually gonna go with that San Diego LA Galaxy game. I think kind of going back to what I said earlier about the derby between LAFC and LA Galaxy, maybe what you did in that game, even though you couldn't pull the win, maybe it gives you a little bit of confidence. They need a win. They don't have any yet. They need a win somewhere. San Diego, they're a good team though. They're not going to make it easy, but at the same time, it's almost like having two derbies back to back. They're
Where's
playing.
it at? Is it
It's in
at
San
LA,
Diego. No, it's in San
San
Diego.
Diego?
So now, of course, this is not a derby in the sense that it's the same city, but it's close enough, right? Um, I don't know. I just think the Galaxy, though they on paper, this is the same kind of conversation we had last night about Atlanta. They're not winning. The points are not there, and that's what matters. So the fans are rightfully pissed. Maybe this is their game where they turn at least some of the things that have been going positively for them. Maybe they finally turn that into a good result. Either way, I think it's enough of a quote unquote derby to just make it interesting.
Or it could be a complete train wreck.
But that's the thing. You get one or the other, both will be good, no matter what. All right, cool. Any final thoughts? Anything?
No, thanks for having me. I didn't
Yeah,
want to leave you alone here, and I was
appreciate
going to
it.
be on for 20 minutes, and I was here for an hour and 10.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me. It was good. We went through the whole
It was a
league.
good week. It was a good week of MLS.
It really
With the
was.
double match week, I think that they gave some real good performances here. Now this week, I'm like I said, I'm not that impressed with a lot of these matchups, but I mean, I think the Open Cup is going to be. They got a couple bangers in there, and then you get to Saturday, and you got some, and then Sunday. I don't really know what you got going Sunday. Well,
Come see us at the Signia is what you can do.
Yeah, I mean that'd be fun. Go hang out with this guy there. But yeah, we're getting to the dog days of summer.
Yep.
We're getting there, and the transfer window's coming up, and that's going to be exciting to see what players come in. And I know we didn't really touch on this at all, but when is that special transfer window for those special teams?
I don't have the dates in front of me, but it's a 10-day transfer window right before the Club World Cup.
Yeah,
which I disagree with.
I think it's stupid, absolutely stupid there. But that's
if you
MLS
want your
is just
team,
saying, please just do something good.
That's the thing. If MLS, if you want your teams to compete on the world stage, this is the Club World Cup. Just open up the freaking roster rules. Stop piddling around and giving teams a special window so that they can try to make something out of nothing when you could have just made it easier to sign players in the first place, and this wouldn't be an issue. That irritates me. It irks me from a fan perspective and from just like looking at MLS and wanting it to succeed. I don't care what team it is. It's irresponsible, and it feels rushed. When 2 years ago, when Messi got here, you could have just said, all right, well, let's add minimum another DP spot or two, or bump up the salary cap a lot, something. But no, now we're giving teams a 10-day transfer window to try to rush somebody in to be competitive against Manchester City and, Porto and all these other teams. That pisses me off. Anyway, that's my rant for the day.
Old man yelling at the sky.
Yeah, I'm going to keep doing it too. All right, well,
early happy birthday to you, Tyler, since you won't be around on Wednesday.
Yeah, y'all have fun on Wednesday. I'll be keeping an eye and ear out, but I appreciate it. Freaking May, man, it's busy.
All right, do you have MLS music? Okay,
I have this.
All right, that works. We didn't have it yesterday, so I just sang it on my own.
Weird. Look, let's do some epic music. Let's see what this is.
I don't hear anything. Is this the Austin? Is this the Texas Derby music?
Yeah.
Sounds a little cowboyish.
It does. Weirdly.
I don't know if it's epic.
Not either. It's not epic enough for me. I'm not conjuring up feelings of like going to war.
Yeah, no, this isn't doing anything epic for me.
It feels like a rip-off Call of Duty loading screen music.
Yeah.
Well. All right.
All right. See you guys.
Peace.